Hi, welcome to a new episode of Entrepreneurs Insights, the podcast series dedicated to founders, to innovators in the pharma or medtech space. Today, we are specifically talking about medtech and MedTech World. Before we start, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. It is very important and very helpful to us. I am very pleased to welcome Dylan Attard to the show. Well, good day to you, Dylan. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much for the invite.
Tell me a bit more about your business, your story, because not everybody is familiar with MedTech World.
So by background, I'm a medical doctor. So I graduated around 12 years ago. I studied in Malta, which is where I'm from. I was working in surgery, doing core training in surgery. And I've always loved surgery, obviously working with patients on a one-to-one basis. I've studied in the UK and in Ireland as well to undergo more training during my medical school and in surgery. But I've always felt restricted working in a hospital tending to one patient at a time. I've always loved entrepreneurship. I've always loved to work on a bigger scale. And I've always wanted to kind of experience the world out there. So 5 years ago, I set out to start MedTech World, which back then it was meant to be an annual conference promoting Malta, which is where I'm coming from, as a potential hub for MedTech and health tech companies to set up on the island. It is a majestic island in the Mediterranean, right beneath Italy. Very much of a southern Mediterranean influence, and it's a majestic place to live in. A lot of history. The venue do MedTech World, MedTech Malta, and used to be used as a hospital during World War I. Malta used to actually be called the nurse of the Mediterranean because it is very strategically located in the Mediterranean. So different powers back then used to want to conquer Malta, so that they have a very good base where they can refuel, reship, and treat their wounded during different wars. So we started off with MedTech Malta. I have always understood that events is not just about events, but events can get you to places. So we started inviting key opinion leaders, we started inviting companies, strategics to come to MedTech Malta. But then eventually we started doing a couple of small roadshow events. We started off exploring the Middle East, Dubai. Which has always been one of our favorite Middle Eastern sports. There's a lot of international influence there. And obviously there's a lot of capital money, and there's a lot of eagerness to invest and being the best in the world.
Right.
So that kind of also mirrors who MedTech World wants to meet. We've done a number of European cities. We've from London to Amsterdam to Belgrade to Luxembourg to Berlin. But these were in a form of small roadshow events. Because back then, 4 or 5 years ago, we realized that we can't wait for everyone to know about us, but we need to go to different cities ourselves and start doing different events, different roadshows, so that we get to meet as many different hubs of medtech and healthcare across the world. We've started exploring North America. We've done networking events in Toronto, Canada. This year we've done a one-day event in Houston at the Texas Medical Center, together with some of our industry partners. And we've done an event in San Jose in California this year with MedTech Innovator, which are also known here in Asia, and even more so in the US.
Right. So a big accelerator, right? Just for those of us who don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
And Asia, we started exploring it last year. We've done a small event with Terence, who I believe was one of your guests
That's right.
Previously, and AWS. And this year we've upgraded the event into a full one-day event. And also got to co-host a small mingle event with MedTech Activator the day before. Where we want to take MedTech World next year, it's 4 events across 4 regions, across 4 quarters. So we're sticking with Dubai as our base in the Middle East for Q1, and we're looking to do this in February. Q2, we're choosing Florida, West Palm Beach as our location in America. Q3, Asia, and we're still very much torn whether we're going to stick to Singapore, where I know that people actually want us to stay in, and the hospitality here has been has been amazing. But there's also the attractiveness of Hong Kong as a potential base for us to possibly even explore and be closer to more financial institutions and more money, which I know that the rest of Asia wants to connect with. And Q4 will have MedTech Malta as a European base. And beyond just being our European-based, MedTech Malta also seems to be the meeting pot, the confluence of where our international ecosystem joins. And that's the plan for next year, essentially.
Yeah, exciting. Right. And this is amazing because now you are actually, empowering this entire ecosystem and hundreds and thousands of founders. So I see. Very impressive.
Exactly. I mean, that's the satisfaction that it kind of gives me. Obviously, entrepreneurship is not as wonderful as people possibly present it to be. I mean, I am passing through a lot of struggles and starting to actually witness what true entrepreneurship means, the pressure of having the whole team relying on you, family, trying to manage between both lives.
Right.
But at the end of the day, especially events like yesterday in which we were facilitating conversations between people who are based in Europe and North America with locals here, with local government entities or accelerators. That's the true power of trying to influence healthcare on a global level. And that's what I want MedTech World to continue doing, I guess, for as long as I'm in it.
This is awesome. And tell me a bit more about that more personal entrepreneurial journey. We're going to talk about MedTech and the market and the trends and where you see the different regions going. But you talked about the challenges and the hurdles of entrepreneurship. Obviously, that's what we want to talk about as well on this podcast series. So what are some of the lessons learned that you have through that journey that you feel could be applicable to those who are watching us who might be MedTech founders?
I think one of the basic lessons that I'm learning is that you never know enough and that you're never as good as you think you are in whatever I'm doing. When I chose or when I took the decision that, listen, all right, I'm going to take a 1-year break from surgery back then. I thought entrepreneurship was going to be fun. I was going to wake up at whatever time I want, work from wherever I want, travel, enjoy, have fun, go to different cafeterias, workplaces, and just enjoy the pure entrepreneurial life. Because I was trying to do it when I was still working in surgery. Sometimes, like even if you're post-duty, like a post-36-hour shift, you get a morning off, and I used to enjoy just waking up slightly later or going to a cafeteria or working on a laptop wherever I want.
Right.
And that used to be the dream life back then. Then as soon as I started MedTech World, and there was one ambition leading to another. At the beginning it was all about an annual event, and then we started having different roadshows, and then from roadshows we're now looking at 4 flagships across 4 regions, across 4 quarters for next year. That's when pressure starts to build, and then you're hiring people you want to see flourish and continue to grow and earn the returns that they want to, so there's even more pressure on you. Or when you're hiring people and maybe they're not fitting in the team as much as you want to. It all boils down to you as the company leader, as the company CEO or the company founder.
Right.
That's a different type of pressure from the pressure that I used to experience in surgery. I mean, I'm coming from a very much pressurized job. We used to work at one point even 36 hours straight with a couple of hours break if we're lucky, or being asleep in the middle of the night and waking up to a trauma call, which you need to assist a surgeon, your consultant for a 6-hour surgery with possible CPRs on a table. I used to think that, I mean, I can't
talk
face
about pressure, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, I've always had high hopes that I'll know what I'm walking into. But this is a very different type of pressure. Then you have the pressure of working as much as you can to keep the company growing, balancing between family, friends, and your personal life between work, which I'm still learning and suffering the consequences from, I guess, at this stage as well. Whenever young, aspiring entrepreneurs come to me, especially maybe physicians who are trying to do, or healthcare practitioners in general, who know what I'm up to, sometimes I receive LinkedIn messages, sometimes it's people that I used to work with who are seeing me doing the stuff that I'm doing and thinking that everything is good, and they come to me like, I'm looking to do this. Sometimes I even try to, I wouldn't say discourage them, but at least telling them, like trying to show them what they're actually what they're actually going to walk into.
Right.
Because the grass is always greener on the other side. Knowing what I'm passing through and what I've passed through, maybe I would still have done what I'm trying to do, but maybe I would have thought it differently back then, especially like the whole concept of the grass is greener on the other side. And mind you, I'm not trying to discourage anyone from entrepreneurship because it's beautiful. It's what keeps me awake at night in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. It's what makes me tick. There's always something to work for, but maybe something that I need to learn is how to balance work between anything else, I guess.
Yeah, and what I can feel through what you said and through what I've observed from afar, just attending some of your events here, you seem to be a very ambitious and bold guy when it comes to where you want MedTech World to become and what you want MedTech World to become, Obviously, it has grown exponentially very fast. And as you said yourself, you want now to go even bigger next year. And I'm sure the year after it will be even bigger and so on. Would you say that you have, for yourself, defined what success looks like? Have you already set a goal that is very tangible, or you are just excited by the ride of being bigger, better?
I think that's something that I'm trying to better right now, to be honest. I know that I'm very ambitious, and it's like this whole ambition is what keeps me going. But sometimes I do also feel that it might be a curse in a way. That sometimes it might even be a curse.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure that even after we're going to be doing 4 flagships next year, I even actually know where we want to be in 2027. I have 2 more destinations, 2 more continents I want to explore, which are at the back of my mind. And if it wasn't for my team knowing how possibly overworked and overstressed they are, I would go for it next year.
My point exactly.
I agree, exactly. I mean, so at the stage where I want MedTech World to be is I want it to be a sustainable ecosystem, essentially it is an events and media company trying to create a positive influence within healthcare, which is very much of a different industry than any other industry out there, and that's what gives us pride.
Right.
For me, maybe it was, I mean, I didn't have any other choice because I went into medical school, I became a doctor, so I kind of feel that I need to work in this industry because it's what I'm good at. But for most of my team who come from different backgrounds, different industries, and are now working into healthcare and medtech, sometimes I do see their pride in terms of, listen, this is a medtech industry, it's healthcare, like it's not any other industry, and it gives me satisfaction. Yeah. So I do want MedTech World to become a sustainable events and media company, a sustainable ecosystem, for my team to continue growing, for my current core team to continue enjoying the fruit of growth, and for us to continue exploring different ecosystems, different regions, and above all, connecting as many more key stakeholders, key leaders within different ecosystems for MedTech to be truly, and healthcare to be truly a MedTech world.
Right. So if you look at the MedTech market, and obviously the segment that we are interested in here, which is again small to mid-size startup scale-up companies, and the flow of investment and so on. So how would you at least give me a big picture, right? What do you see in the US? What do you see in the European market at a big picture view, and same in Asia? Can you give me some sense of what are the market trends looking like?
Yep. So we started off in Malta. So we've started off covering Europe. In Europe, I do think there's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of research coming out of universities. There's a lot of European entities who help to fund different research products, different knowledge transfer ideas. But I think it does lack possibly the capital and the scale of what medtech and health-tech companies need to grow. Especially given that in Europe there's a very strong public healthcare ecosystem across different countries, from the NHS covering also the UK, and that can prove to be quite a challenging point for companies if they're looking for reimbursement. Who's going to be paying for their products, for their devices? Not everyone can afford private health insurance. Not every health insurance wants to partner up with the latest innovations, because essentially it's always what return of investment they're gonna get. And in Europe, I do think that there's less of an activity in terms of companies being bought by strategics, and again the scale of the operations, compared to North America, in which I would go on to say it is nearly a mecca for MedTech and health tech. There's much more activity possibly than the rest of the world when it comes to strategics, partner and corporates partnering up with different companies at different stages to be able to eventually buy them out or incorporate them into their devices portfolio. And obviously there's much more money from the private sector in terms of private insurances who would want to offer the best medical devices, the best solutions, and essentially hospitals who are run privately, who at the end of the day will want whatever device, whatever healthcare solution is gonna get them less costs, and less money needed to be spent on longer hospital stays or treatments in general. In Europe, something that's also has been hurting the industry over the past couple of months is in terms of the MDR and MDD regulations, the whole European, on a European level, what medical devices companies need to do to get certified, right? Compared to maybe North America, in which there is the whole FDA pathways. Everyone knows what they need to do, at what stage they need to do what, and maybe slightly clearer for companies and even for investors to know what they're going to invest in, the whole de-risking the companies and portfolios they're going to invest in. When it comes to Asia, I found Asia has an immense potential for scale. So companies can look at greater revenues and greater profit margins. From our experience, especially speaking to some government entities, even over the past couple of days in Singapore, and I can even say to some extent even to the greater Asia, there's much more support and help from government entities to be able to help cushion some of the startups and younger companies, to be able to give them the capital they need to get them to market and eventually to bedside. And there's a much more clearer path to a clearer regulatory path in Asia, at least from the little that we've been speaking to some of the companies here. What I think Asia wants to, and possibly even Singapore, especially speaking about Singapore has widely been known as a springboard, so that companies from here can eventually go on to the rest of the world. I think Asia needs to work on more bridges between this part of the world and the rest of the industry, essentially. Because for companies to get successful and for investors to get the return that they're looking for the money they're possibly putting in the medtech industry, which we all know isn't as quite liquid as we want it to be, or there isn't quite, doesn't give too fast of a return as investors would want to get from possibly different other industries. Asia needs to work on building more bridges between this part of the world and bigger markets, be it in Europe, be it in North America, and that's something that I do want to possibly help with, especially through MedTech World. Over the past couple of days we've been here, we've been preaching for companies here, and we've also invited different government entities to come to MedTech Malta. We even have some of our content on stage revolving around Asia and Malta, so that MedTech Malta can serve as an international confluence, as I was saying, so that companies who are based here might eventually speak to service providers, different hospitals that we're going to be having in from the US and Malta, so that eventually they can partner up with them and deploy in North America, Europe, or the rest of the world in general.
One of the things that happens often in this kind of events, you have a certain number of pitch that are happening. Give us some tips of what to do, what not to do.
Most of the advice I give to most of the companies, especially the younger ones that I'm trying to, I wouldn't say mentor, but even possibly sharing some of my experience with, especially wearing the physician's hat, is to know which problem that they're looking to solve. Sometimes I think a lot of founders or entrepreneurs in general get lost into the whole buzz and hype revolving around entrepreneurship, the buzzwords of AI, the hype of what they can do, as opposed to what problem are you solving, for who, and who's going to be able to enjoy your product. Are hospitals or is the private healthcare industry willing to pay for it? And if not, who are you doing the product for? Because sometimes I think a lot of the younger entrepreneurs fail to realize where they currently are and where they want to be. So they get lost in between. Everyone loves to go to conferences, wearing the founder's hat, the CEO hat, the speaking to investors, the trying to raise money. But essentially, if you're looking to raise money, how are you going to pay your investors back? Where do you see your company in 5 years, 10 years down the line? Is it going to be a product that any of the strategics are willing to buy? Is it going to be a company that's going to be strong enough to make it on any public listing so that the investors can get their return? So that's something that I try to help younger companies and startups with. Especially given the obviously current investor scene. Everyone knows that you're not going to find money lying around. If any investor is going to commit to you, it's always going to come with any strings attached. And speaking also of investors, especially at the beginning, it's not about getting any check from anyone. I think it always needs to, especially in medtech, even more so in healthcare in general. It needs to revolve around intelligent capital. The first backers of any company, any project that you're looking to do, need to help you, not just purely financially, because no matter how much money you're going to be having, if you're not going to have the right mentorship and the right guidance and the right connections in the industry, you're going to burn that cash, and eventually in a couple of months down the line, you're going to find yourself in the same or possibly even worse situation than you were before you got your first couple of raises.
Right. Any other advice or things that you see when you are sitting at these panels and you see that pattern over and over again repeating?
Sometimes it's also, can work against them when they think too big. They want to conquer different countries, different regions, different ecosystems at one go. I'm always quite a fan of consolidate your bases and then work on to others.
Right.
Another thing that I've also come across with, even like from a regulatory or cybersecurity point of view, especially if you're a founder, I doubt any founder or any of the company core team knows everything about everything. So you also you always need to seek guidance, seek support. Now, if you're looking to do a product and you have an idea, a medical device in mind, are you also thinking with the end product in mind? Sometimes they think of the MVP, then they get to the point where they need to apply for CE mark or for FDA approval, and then they realize they never took cybersecurity into play, or they never took any other regulatory specifications in mind. Then they need to go back to the drawing boards, waste more time, waste more money.
Right.
And that's something that I always also try to emphasize, is always think with the end product and the end goal in mind, so that you're always in time to do any of the changes and any of the investments you need to do before it gets too late and you need to go back.
Yeah, I can see that. And what is as a surgeon by training yourself and obviously as someone who is very much vested into the success of the medtech sector at large, what are some of the use cases or innovations that you feel are a game changer or you are very excited about? There's millions of opportunities out there, but if you look into your crystal ball and you look into the next 10 years, give me some perspective on what you think is of interest for the medtech world.
There's a lot of expectations around, obviously, the use of AI across healthcare. Hopefully we get beyond past the point of it just being hype. And I'm not just speaking about AI being used in radiology, and which is one of the most basic applications, but AI in terms of predictive analysis, the whole scale of what healthcare can offer in terms of diagnostics and the rest. And that's one thing that I'm quite excited for, especially for the next couple of years. Coming from a surgical background, I can't not mention obviously the use of robotics in surgery, which I'm quite keen on. And it's also I'm also quite saddened about the fact that I might never get to do any robotics in surgery, I guess, or enjoy the full benefit of it. Over the past couple of months, we've seen surgeons participating in different surgeries being done across different countries using robotics and live live transmission. And I think that even from the very minimal experience I have in surgery throughout my very brief career, there's a lot for robotics, not to take over, but rather to help the surgeons do quicker surgeries, and help even when it comes to the whole operation activity of the operation itself, in terms of the success rate of the operation, which I think robotics has a lot to play. I think those are the two that I'm quite looking forward for. More companies need to understand where the true bottlenecks are and where they need to focus on and come up with products for. Different healthcare ecosystems across the world are suffering enormous pressure, be it from lack of healthcare practitioners themselves, overburdened practitioners, healthcare practitioners, medical doctors themselves needing to spend a lot of time doing a lot of paperwork or admin work, which simple digital healthcare solutions can do. There's also the problem of unequal access to basic healthcare needs across different cities and different countries, something which digital health tools can also help with. There's also the whole concept of prevention is better than cure. So I do think there more money needs to be invested to come up with more digital health tools for us to be able to treat our populations much before than when actually they need to be treated.
Right.
These are all stuff that kind of gets me excited, and hopefully through MedTech World we're able to create more of impactful differences in all of these different problems that our healthcare ecosystems are suffering from, I guess.
That's awesome. These are very exciting use cases for sure. Whether you are a founder, an innovator, you are an investor, or an accelerator, and you are not yet familiar with MedTech World, Dylan Atta profile is right there below in the video description, as well as his website. Go check it out. And Dylan, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And looking forward to see you soon.